participants to join in. I would like to take your feedback. Please, let me start by asking volunteers, just one person to the session has been for them so far. So anyone? Guys, just feedback. It can be one word, a sentence, anything, so that we know what you guys would want, like as in next time when we organize such an event or something like that. So just a person, one or two people, or should I pick randomly? Ron, tell us something.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Ron.
Hello, I'm just arriving, but haven't settled. But the meeting has been very informative, especially for me who I'm trying to gather information on how to manage people like co-founders or start a startup just generally. So like just the meeting, it has been organized from day 1 to day 5 or 6. It has been systematically ordered so that for someone like me cannot jump to another step. Like I can start with the basics of a startup. So it has been very helpful, and like you guys continue helping us so that we can come out there together, and we can also, like in the next event, we can be the ones who will be talking. So congrats. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Ron. Yes, we're just trying our best here. Most of these sessions have just been for you guys, so I'm really glad that it is helping you. So I want us to start at 17 so we can have one more person. Anyone? Okay, let me just pick a random person. Let's have a lady, Lucy. Lucy, tell us something. A feedback. How are the sessions for you so far? Okay. Any other volunteer? Patrick Yagon. Say something. How are the sessions for you? Patrick. Okay. It seems like I'm talking to myself here. So I'm
Hello. Jumbo. You are doing good, huh?
Yeah.
The session has been good. quite enlightening, and we are longing for more. That's why you see we are tuned up as fast as we can. So everyone, let us get the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so everyone, welcome to day 3 of our startup week. Today we'll be focusing mostly on funding opportunities and financial management. So for all those who, how can I say this, have startups somewhere, it's not a company or something, here's your chance to know how to get funding. So we'll have our first speaker. Since Lubenga hasn't joined us, so our first speaker will be Brighton Kitendo. So just a little bit about Brighton. Brighton is a Pan-African digital transformation leader and an innovation and IT risk advisor. With experience across management consulting, strategy and innovation, technology, security and risk advisory. So Brighton works full-time as a group audit manager, has worked with various companies like PwC, Safaricom PLC, Huawei Technologies. So without much ado, I'd like to introduce, to welcome Brighton Kitendo. Welcome, Brighton. So you'll have around 20 minutes, so please kindly keep time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. You let me know when you can hear me. When you lose me, let me know.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, great. So I'm just sharing my screen and then we can get to it. Okay. Just waiting for it to come up. Put on presentation mode. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right, cool, cheers. I may not be able to see the charts, so I hope someone will be keeping an eye on the charts for me as we go along. So I've been given 20 minutes, so I'll just share through a few thoughts. So my name is Brighton. I'm an engineer, and it's always good to congregate in familiar grounds and have interesting conversations. But I also do a few other things on the sides. I wear many hats. I think yeah. So I am a typical Kenyan or African. So where on one hand side you have also your many other things. So currently I work with an organization called Letseho. It has banks and microfinances across 11 countries in Africa. I provide currently, I look at risk elements that speak to digital transformation, products and technology. I have lots of work around security and such, but I also sit in two important committees, group innovation management, and also another committee of, we call it committee of experts that looked at driving business agility within the organization. But I've also worked with other organizations. I've worked with Equity Group. I've worked with PwC Kenya for about 3 years. I've worked with Safaricom and Huawei. Yeah, but within tech startup space, so I have co-founded 3 startups so far. Some of them are startups, others are your normal businesses. So so there's Pekeza Capital. It's an Afrocentric angel firm and venture capital firm. Really here what we do, we back startups and founders that are innovating to using technology to solve problems around healthcare, agriculture, and technology. For us, we zeroed in on those because we see many latent opportunities within the continent, and we wanted to drive innovations around that space. Beyond that, we also do consulting with Vumbua Consulting Group. It's a management and corporate governance consulting company, and a few others. I'm also a scholar. I mentioned I'm an engineer, and currently doing a doctorate in business innovation and technology management. So, does anyone recognize that photo?
Yeah.
I'd be happy to get their feedback. Who are these guys?
Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley, yeah. And the reason why I like this one, it's first of all, I believe every entrepreneur and founder must have or should watch Silicon Valley for different reasons, but really very central to our conversation today about financial management and from a startup perspective. I want you to reflect on these guys and some of the mistakes, huge mistakes they probably went through and did that really costed them. And I'm sure you know them. Some of them speaking to valuation, others speaking to hiring mistakes, equity split and investments, and many things around those ones. So I was just putting it there to have it at the back of your mind when you're having this conversation. And probably that also talks to this. And this is me speaking from an investor's perspective. There's this saying that investors back jockeys and not horses. So we really back the product because evolve as much as, but you as the entrepreneur, you actually adapt and be able to offer innovative solutions is really what investors go for. Here is the first slide. So where do we start when talking about financial management from a startup perspective? And the very first question is a question that I've been asked by a good number of founders that I've interacted with, where they ask, why do I need to know so much about accounting and strategy and legal aspects of a startup when I'm not really a finance founder? I'm an engineer, or I'm a techie, or other things. Why do I really care? I mean, I can hire a lawyer to work out on the legal aspects. I can hire an accountant and strategy consultant. But if you remember that story of the one I've just shared of Silicon Valley, then you understand why it is very important, because you can be duped by any of these guys, including the lawyers, the accountants, and everybody else. At the core of it, and very important for me, is that every time you're thinking about running a business or a startup, at the back of your mind, you want to turn your ideas into sustainable operating business. And that's why our conversation today are really going to be from a design principle. And I'm glad probably majority of guys here, engineers or people understand that concept. So really going into behind the scenes of the why it is important to have understanding of financial management from a startup perspective. I actually like this analogy. It's a guy called Adrian, he's an American strategist, but he also likes sports, and he compares how business has evolved over time. Comparing it with sports, and he says, initially it was about who is bigger and stronger, more like in the football. And I know footballers here, you may have different opinions, but there was that. And this is where really we're seeing big corporates, selling up smaller corporates, startups and businesses, and that was it. But over time, it became an issue of speed. So how and who is first to get to the market? How do you get your products to the market? But then it has, changed to chess, and I'm a chess player and a fan of it. So probably I would speak this with a little bit more of passion. But really about chess is mastery of patterns of moves and strategic moves. And one of the things we've seen around this in the recent past is where you're playing a particular industry. So whether it's whichever sector, so whether it's in education or in the energy sector, your understanding of how that industry works, and then having your moves close to your chest so that you can compete your competitors has been a very significant competitive strategy. But what we are seeing right now is, because the environment is really changing so fast, mastery of patterns of moves and strategies is no longer like the most tenable. So what is happening right now is competitive advantage is on those who are very nimble and can actually adapt to changes in the industry very fast and be able to realign either their strategy or their products or their teams to actually meet emerging needs. We're calling it VUCA environment: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So, and this is basically just to say, as startups, this is where we are good at, and this is where we are known. We are nimble, we are small, we can change and adapt very fast when things change. As I mentioned, in terms of going back to the design principles or the first principles, you cannot talk about financial management from a startup perspective without first looking at how do you get even to have this conversation. And the very first part of it is understanding your value chain correctly and then optimizing on it. And there's the model called value chain analysis that really helps you. But this really what we are saying is, so if you're thinking about ideas and getting into a particular industry, the very first thing you would need to understand, obviously, is which part of the entire value chain do I want to come and play, or my product or my business to come and add value? How do I get to actually add that value? How do I create that value within that part of the value chain? And how do I deliver that value to the target customer that I really want to deliver to? And then obviously, how do I capture that value? And I'll give an example of this, and the reason why this is important is that if you take, say, an example of a supermarket that is selling groceries, your Sukuma Wiki and the rest of the other things, and you just try to trace that value chain upstream. So you have the supermarket guy gets from, say, a logistics guy who comes to deliver. This logistics guy could be what? Could be some guy with trucks that goes to carry buy goods from farmers and then bring goods from warehouses. Then so there's that guy, and then that guy goes to buy, say, from warehouses, your depots, like, say, like the maize depots, for example, or maybe others. And then those guys in the depots get those products from farmers. And then farmers will get raw materials and fertilizers and the rest of the other things. And then there's the farm at the end of the day, the warehouse and everything else. So if you look at that entire value chain, one of the important aspects of knowing that is, when you're analyzing it and looking at the players within that value chain, you will identify where the actual gaps are and where you can actually create more compelling value, and where you can actually commercialize much better and compete more favorably. What we are seeing today, for example, is that most of the innovators, in quotes, are fighting and competing within just the last mile of delivery of service to customers. So it is your very last part. But upstream, there is probably very few people or nobody. And then at this point, you cannot compete so much on price, your view. So it is very important to understand that value chain. And then the higher you go with along that value chain is actually where you can even grow your margins and differentiate more. That is one of the things that is extremely important. The other important aspect of it is sorry, there's someone who should go on mute. The other aspect of it is understanding your market and and the value proposition that you bring into the market. And across startups, really, and even other businesses, there's this kind of model that we always use to communicate the value proposition and see where you compare with your customers. And obviously, depending on how your products are, so whether it's a service or it's just a normal tangible product, one of the obvious things is they are the must-haves for that particular product that must be there. And so, for example, when you're talking of your minimum viable product, usually we talk of the key functionalities or features of your product that must be there for that product to actually serve the customers. So that's what you're referring to, the must-haves. So ideally, when you're doing this one, is just identify, so where do you compare with your competitors? And competitors could be physical store, for example, or physical, I don't know, manufacturer. Another type of competitor could be your guys who are using a digital platform, and then there is yourself or your startup. And then the performance benefits are just over and above your must-haves, but these are things that ensure that your products are actually consumed by customers in a more efficient way. And then delight us, these are more customer experience enhancing products. So you obviously rate yourself in terms of high, medium, or low compared to your competitors. The reason why this is very important is what then you would use to communicate your value, but also what would guide you when now you're going to do your pricing models and making your business and financial models, which are fundamentals when you're talking about financial management. Then there is this other aspect of it, business model. And really for me, when I look at business model, so there's business model canvas, but really here what you're doing is, you're identifying different aspects that your business or your product revolve around. So who are your key potential partners? What are some of your key activities that you have to engage as a startup for you to be able to deliver value? What are the key resources that you need to have as a startup or as a business to actually deliver value? And what is your value proposition, which is what you've spoken around from the kind of model? Your customer relationship approach and strategies, your channels and go-to-market strategies, your customer segments, who your customer really is, your revenue streams, your cost structures, and such. Really, these are the fundamentals of any startup when you are starting off. And it builds for you the framework through which you as a startup are going to operate on. So here are key financial questions that we obviously need to answer when we are thinking about startups or running startup businesses. And the first question is always, when you're starting off, how much money do I need to start this business? And obviously now, when you're building your business model canvas, really that would guide you more in terms of how much you actually need for the respective activities, resources, partners, and such. Because then it guides you in terms of how do you do your first heavy lifting? Do you bootstrap? Do you need to raise funding? How do you go about that? And then the second question is, how do you commercialize your product? And obviously, it's based on your value proposition. Where do you create value? And how do you capture and deliver that value? And then once you do that, then you know how to commercialize that. And then the other aspect of it, of course, which is also a very critical question, which I've seen so many entrepreneurs and founders really struggle with, is how do you identify an optimal pricing model for your products that customers are actually willing and able to pay for? And what is interesting around this one is because, so first, most entrepreneurs do not necessarily take time to actually understand who their actual customers are. So you could hypothetically think my product is targeting this particular customer segment, but until you actually take that product to the market and actually revalidate with the customers, what usually design thinking approach. So you're starting off with the customer in terms of validating the problem and also the solution. You would be surprised in most of the instances that the target customer segment that you're envisioning, sometimes it may not necessarily be those ones. So that is very important. And while you're doing that, you also now get to understand then what are they willing and actually able to pay for the product that we offer. And that informs your pricing model. And then obviously, is your pricing model competitive, or is your model sustainable? And sustainability is really, the rock of every organization or every business and startup. Being able to weather the storms of running businesses and running bankrupt while you're still in operations. Then interesting conversations around, especially tech startups and startups around, engineering startups and such. Do we really care about profitability when you're starting off, or we just want to grow? So do we want to, to be able to capture, those growth, those profitability margins, or just want, to grow, move from this one to the other, operating at a loss, really not focusing too much about profits and such? It's a contentious topic, but for me, the way I always look at it and advise people is as a sustainability perspective. You have a compelling product that has a compelling value. So important, and you've got to a point where you have validated that this is actually what my customers really want, and they are willing to pay for this. Then that product should be able to be sustainable, or can be sustained itself, unless obviously you're going into charitable business, which would be a different consideration. And then, of course, the other question is how long until your product or service actually becomes profitable. These every entrepreneur should always have, when they're thinking about businesses, or even when you're looking at, financial aspects of a startup. But the bottom line of it is always have a fluid business model. Fluid in the essence that you can actually change and adapt depending on the feedback you get from the market. So when you're interacting with customers and noting that the customers do not need a subscription-based model. So for example, if you're running a SaaS model, as a service model, then you can go back and and refine that model. Or you notice that your customers are not too happy with your prices, or other guys have come to the market and competing you at that price. So you can always go back and change. The most important part is, while it's fluid, it should always be continuously, either during the time you're testing your MVP, or when you're doing your product market fit validation. The very basic and obvious aspects of financial management. Now, because earlier on we've just spoken about the fundamentals of and the why behind the why of financial management from a startup perspective. And this is what everybody will tell you, even at a personal level. Like, always have a budget, right? And track it. And I know this has been a challenge for many people, even at a personal level, like tracking every expenses and such. But for a startup, it is extremely important. So obviously, it's a separate legal entity. So contracts and commercial contracts by itself. And you do not want, if things go south, guys coming for your personal properties. So that's why you first register it as a separate legal entity. And I know, for example, in Kenya, we have, you can register as a limited liability company, while, this whole logistics around startup is being worked on. But I also understand even across other markets in Africa and beyond, they are around having a legal entity that is separate. It saves your personal resources and allows the business to actually operate as it should. And on that, of course, now have a separate business account that then you have mandates purely just for the business owners and people who can actually transact on behalf of the business. And then the other part of it, of course, set a budget at the start of the year, and then have everybody focus on that. The whole idea of it is just for you to be able to know this is what you're working towards, and this is how we will know that we're actually on track. And if there are any emerging aspects, then you can adjust accordingly. Yeah, and it's very important. The other aspect, of course, it's from a tracking perspective. Every coin. And really around this one is making sure that you have proper recording of every transaction. So the expenses side, the revenue side, making sure that you're actually recording. And today you can use Excel, you can use some cheap open source accounting tools and systems. And if you really have to hire services of accountants, or your CPAs, or guys who can help you out in managing that. The reason why this is important is because if you're just starting off and you want to get to a point where you would want to do a fundraise, these numbers become very critical. And when you need to demonstrate traction, when you need to demonstrate operating efficiency in terms of how you're managing your finances, then those becomes extremely critical. And then obviously the other part of it is just to make sure that you do not have co-founder domestic violence issues. You know, we always say co-founder relationships are like marriages. So just like in marriage, you want to make sure that you're transparent around finances. That is important. And the other last one on that is understand your tax obligations and pay up. And I cannot overemphasize on this one. I know in Kenya, KRA can get crafty, and they're getting crafty every day. But when you get everything else, don't forget to understand your tax obligations and pay up. You know, deal with the rest of their things once that is settled out, because it can get really messy. The other aspect of it is in terms of projections. And so here is really where you're looking at your growth. What you're working towards is a business, it's a startup, but it also informs the prioritization of your efforts and resources towards achieving those goals. So it's more like from a strategy perspective, and then now planning around that. And obviously now also when you begin conversations with investors, sorry. So whether it's your angel or it's VC or others, tractions and projections are like at the bottom of that conversation. So you really need to get that very right and correct. So I've mentioned two approaches that people use. So there's a top-down approach in terms of projections. So where you really look at the industry that you're operating in, because we say business does not operate in isolation of the environment. And this gives your macro environment. So your regulatory, the rest of your competitors and everyone else around that. So understanding your market share, understanding the future projections of that industry as a whole, it is very important. So if the industry is declining, then we should be able to actually see from your projections that you actually factor that in, or if your industry is growing as well. And these are questions that investors are always very keen to, to ask and demand for answers. So top down, look at the industry, look at the market segments and everyone else. Identify your serviceable market share, and then from those ones, then now look at your internal resources and see then how do you get to meet those ones, so that then your projections are actually validatable. The bottom-up approach is where you're starting internally. So you are saying this is the way we are seeing our numbers grow. Our customers month on month is 50%. So we project this one, they're going to in the next 2 or 3 years is going to grow to this number. That's another approach. But for me, really, the rule of thumb that I've seen always work for me and also for my portfolio startups is using an hybrid of those. So when you are doing your short-term forecast, the biggest indications of that is your internal structures, your internal sales growth, and everything else. So your bottom-up really speaks to that. Looking at longer term, 3 to 5 years ahead, you must look at the environment and the industry as a whole. And this is important conversation when you're going for long-term, VC funding. So because on average, most of them would go for, plus 5 years, 5, 7, 10, 15 years. So this is very important. So you can always use an hybrid of those ones. And it will also help you to substantiate and defend your targets and also keep your teams motivated and focused. And also you can be able to answer your investors. A few tips to just add on that conversation. So those are really just some of the highlights around how you manage your finances. So there's obviously a question around how do you allocate your funds to make sure that you remain liquid, because liquidity is a very key factor where you're actually able to pay your short-term obligations, so immediate expenses and such, but also you can be able to have quick cash that keeps coming. And the thought around it is always to make sure that you track that liquidity. So you make sure that, yes?
Sorry about this. So we are going way off schedule.
This is the last slide. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
It's the last slide. So yeah, so I was mentioning, so it's important to understand your liquidity and actually track it. And the obvious part of it is make it all your your revenues always outweigh your expenses. So what guys in finance side call EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, and depreciation and amortization. But really, this is where you're looking at profitability as a target. Rule of the thumb for me has always been for employees to keep your employee costs down, give them stock ownership, but vest it for a period of like 4 years, we say a year cap. So we are saying, I'm employing you as a CEO in the startup, you 10% and not so much of the cash per se, but then you will earn this over a period of 4 years, but you have to stay here for at least 1 year to actually earn the first quarter of that. So that is usually very important. Then outsource when you really have to, and bootstrap, like use your cash until you can actually achieve your product market fit. And when you go for fundraising, go for investors who are aligned with you in terms of the strategy of the organization and the vision of it. Sorry for taking long, but that was the last one. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Brighton. This has been a lovely presentation. Sorry to cut you short, but because of time, okay, if anyone has any question, you can just post it on the chat, then Brighton will see it. Then maybe towards the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A. So quickly enough, let me introduce Olubenga. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it okay. Is a social entrepreneur, communication executive. I think, okay, he has a very big portfolio, so I'll just let him introduce himself. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes, we can.
All right, okay, thank you. So I'm just going to share my screen so we can get started. I'm very excited to be here today. Okay. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so excited to be here today. I bring you love from Ibadan, Nigeria. And, that was a very exciting session by Brighton. Very illuminating session. I really learned a lot myself, right? So my session is going to focus on way to raise money. Now, of course, you can raise money. You can raise money from debt, which is, loans, usually, or convertible notes. You can raise money from equity, but you can also raise money from grants. So the first thing I want you to take away from my session is that grants or winning grants is a way to raise money. It is a strategy. A lot of people just focus on loans and equity, but you can actually make winning grants part of your strategy. Now, I like to start by saying, why should you listen to me? Why do I think the session will be worth your time? The first is last year I helped over 20 persons Foundation grants. I worked with them over 20%. And just in November this year, I helped about 3 clients win $15,000. That's just in November 2020. So I think that you're going to find the session very exciting. Let's move. Now, what are grant giving institutions looking for? So let's say you want to apply for maybe Tony Elimeli, you want to apply for the prize grant, you want to apply for any kind of grants. What are they looking for? They're looking actually for 4 things. And they are, number 1, right solutions, 2, radical pitches, 3, resourceful entrepreneurs, and finally, real scalability. Now, this is a summary of everything I'm going to be talking about. So let's just dive straight into it. Now, when we're talking about right solutions, it's really about knowing who your audience is. It's really about knowing who you're targeting with your solution, right? So the first thing is make sure you research every opportunity. Not every opportunity is for you. Part of the reasons why a lot of people get rejection emails a lot when they apply for grants is that they try to apply for things that they don't qualify for, or for opportunities that are not suited to their industry. For instance, let's say you see a grant application and they say, oh, we are focused on health industry, we are focused on startups in the health space, health, food, maybe mobility. And then what you're working on is probably something that has to do with a marketplace that is not even health related, that is not mobility related, that is not food related. Obviously, they are not going to pick you. So the first step is really to research every opportunity, make sure that it's actually tailor-made for you. And then the second thing is to know your audience, right? Know your audience. Who is going to read my application, right? Who is going to read my application? Now, let's talk about right solutions, solving the right problem. So if you want to win grants, see, you need to think, you cannot afford to just think like somebody is applying for grants. You need to think like the people that are going to review your grants. So let me give an example. Let's say you're applying for a grant and somebody's applying and saying, oh, we're going to save the lives of babies, because babies are dying every day. So with this our solution, we're going to save 3 babies every day. You're applying for that same grant and you're saying, the environment is dirty. With this our solution, we're going to make, Kenya clean. And that's the only thing you're proposing. Obviously, they are going for the solution that is about saving lives of babies. Now, it's not that you cannot win a grant with your environmental project. It's just that you need to make it seem pressing. You need to make whatever it is you're working on a pressing problem. There is this analogy about vitamins and painkillers, right? You need to be working on painkiller ideas, because if you have a strong headache right now, you're not looking for a vitamin to use, you're looking for a painkiller. So that's how you know you have a pressing problem, a problem that people want to solve, a problem that people are being open and praying, and then you bring out a solution. That is the kind of project that wins a grant, solve a pressing problem. Number 2 is connected to the SDGs. There are 17 SDGs right now. Whatever it is that you're doing, whatever project it is that you're doing, connect it to one of the SDGs. Is it no poverty? Is it good working conditions? Is it better health? Look for the SDG. Connect whatever it is you're doing to the SDGs, because the World Bank, the World Organization, big NGOs, big funders are talking about the SDGs. That is what the world is talking about. So you cannot afford to be left out. Find a way to connect what you're doing to the SDGs. If what you're doing is not reflected in the SDGs, then honestly, rethink whatever it is that you're doing. Next is find grants for your sector. I mentioned this earlier, and I'm going to mention it again. You need to focus on grants that are for your sector. If you keep applying for grants that are for other sectors, you keep getting rejected. That sector, right? And then, of course, there are many websites you can do that. There's fundsforNGO.com, Opportunity for Africans, but I think fundsforNGOs.com is really a good for your sector. And then finally, work on your writing skills. See, you cannot possibly win grants if you're not a good writer. So the first thing you want to work on if you want to win grant funding for your business, for your idea, for your project, is your writing skills. You need your writing skills have to be on fire, like literally like on fire. You know that feeling you have when you read a novel or a book and you can't put it down until you get to the very last page, right? That feeling like it's just a pig turner is exactly how your grant proposals should read like. They should read like a novel, like a bestseller, like a thriller. So you need to work on your writing skills. And how do you do that? Let me just give you some tips. Number 1, follow interested authors. So you cannot get good at writing if you don't, master the art of it. How do you do that? Follow the masters. Follow, journalists that write very well. Follow authors that write very well. Follow influencers that write very well. People that write stuff and, they make you grab your heart like, oh, those are the kind of people you should be following, right? So that way, when you keep reading the right stuff, you're going to start writing the right stuff. That leads us to number 2, radical pitches. See, grant proposal. The power of a grant proposal is really in how you pitch it, in how you sell it, right? And essentially, you want to make sure that your project, whatever it is that you're working on, your business, is a brand and not a commodity. Let me quickly explain. A brand is any product or service that is easy to differentiate and hard to substitute. But a commodity is any product or service that is hard to differentiate and easy to substitute. A good example is when you look at Nokia. right? I hope Nokia, was as popular in Kenya as it was in Nigeria some years ago. Some years back, Nokia literally had over 80% market share in Nigeria. Like everybody was using a Nokia phone. It was everywhere. But one of the mistakes Nokia made was that they were making too many phones, right? So you will see Nokia 2310, Nokia 2460, Nokia. There were brands of Nokia phones that at the point Nokia was literally releasing 2 brands every single month. It was just crazy. So which meant that buy a Nokia phone, you have to first do some research. It's like you're studying for your PhD, right? Because you wanted to buy a phone. It was just crazy. But in contrast, look at what Apple is doing, right? You can literally count the number of Apple products on your fingers, right? You count maybe Apple iPhone, iPod, everything is high, right? Or Apple TV, right? And when Apple is releasing a phone, they probably release 1 or 2 per year. So they give you something to look forward to. That is how to build a brand. The power of a brand is inversely proportional to its scope. Don't do too many things. If you're writing a grant proposal, and in that proposal, you are proposing that you want to do free toilets, in that same proposal, you want to do solar power, in that same proposal, you want to do, you want to provide free health screening, in that same proposal, you want to provide free education, you're scatterbrained. That's too many things. You need to focus. If you're listening to me right now, I want you to just tell yourself, I'm going to focus. It's not about doing too many things, right? There's somebody listening to me right now, you're doing too many things. You are all over the place. You need to focus. Pick one thing. Be extremely good at it. Narrow your focus. That moves me to the next thing. Now, how can you convince him? Say you're writing a grant proposal and I'll be convincing. I want to share with you 4 tips. Number 1 is use facts. What are facts? A fact is something that is known to be based on evidence, right? So a fact, for instance, is if I tell you that the population of Nigeria is 200 million. Yeah, we are huge like that in Nigeria, right? That is a fact, right? So use facts in your grant proposal, in your grant proposals. Use facts, things that the people reviewing your application cannot argue with, right? Use facts. An analogy is a comparison between one thing and another. Now, analogies are powerful because they show contrast. So we have epileptic power in Nigeria. Like right now, as I'm talking to you, there's no power supply. Right now as I'm talking to you, they took it, some minutes ago. So if I want to show you that the power supply in Nigeria is really serious, you know what I would do? I would compare with South Africa. South Africa has a population of around 60 million. Nigeria has a population of around 200 million. But Nigeria generates just 4,000 megawatts of electricity. Meanwhile, South Africa generates over 100,000 megawatts of electricity. That is crazy. That is insane. So it means that South Africa, which currently does not have up to half the population, generates over 5 times the power, that Nigeria generates. So it shows you the gap. So when I'm talking about energy poverty, I can actually relate it. I can show you that. Look at South Africa. With very less population, with lesser population, but look at the amount of power they're generating, right? That is the power of analogy. You can compare one thing with another. 3, quotes. What is a quote? A quote is a short sentence drawn from a long experience. Now, everybody has like a favorite quote. For instance, I like this quote by John C. Maxwell. He says, everything rises and falls on leadership. He says leaders have to give up to go up. There's another one that I like, which is that facts tell, but stories sell, which leads me to the next point. Quotes are powerful. When you're opening or you're closing your grant proposals, you should use quotes, powerful quotes that support the point that you're talking about. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're writing a grant proposal around education. You should either open or close with Nelson Mandela's quote. Nelson Mandela said, and I quote, education is the most powerful weapon with which you can change the world. I mean, look at that. Somebody reviewing your proposal gets to the end and sees that the person goes like, wow, right? So quotes are powerful. Look for quotes that relate to the project that you're working there, that relate to the work that you're doing. Look for those quotes, file them down. And then here is stories, right? You see, stories are powerful because transportation leads to persuasion. Right? Facts tell, but stories sell. If you want to move people to action, you want to move your grant reverse to action, tell stories. Let me attempt to tell a very short story. So there was a time I visited a friend was celebrating the birthday, and she said, "Oh, Benga, come celebrate with me." And then I went there, and then I met this orphan, her name Ruth. when you see somebody, you expect to see hair on their head, right? But when I looked at Ruth's head, what I saw instead was ringworm. Ringworm covered the entire scalp. She shared toothbrush with 5 other orphans. They didn't know where the next come from. You know, several years ago when I met her, I thought that I was broke at that time. But by the time I saw their condition, I was like, wow, we need to do something about this. That singular encounter inspired me to create an NGO called the Orphan Empowerment Society. And now we have impacted nearly 25,000 orphans across 19 African countries, right, with free medical care, food, and vocational skills. It all started, my mission to end orphan poverty in Africa, all started with a single encounter with Ruth. Now, you may forget everything I've said so far, but I am betting that you most likely remember the story of Ruth long after now. That is the power of a story. Use stories. Tell the story of somebody who used your product or your service. Tell the story of somebody, you know, who maybe almost gave up, you know, on whatever problem it is that they were having until they use your solution, right? Tell that story, right? I could also tell the story of Naklin. Naklin is a teacher, a primary school teacher and school owner in Nigeria, you know, and schools were severely affected during the pandemic. They had to shut down. In order for her not to lose students, she started organizing free classes, free online classes, right? But then she also had to pay teachers, so she needed help. And then she saw this opportunity about a grant, Facebook grant, but she didn't even know how to apply. She didn't even know what to do. So she reached out and to Grandmaster, and you know, we worked with her, matched her with a grant writer, matched her with an accountant, and she won the grant. That grant literally transformed her business because now she could pay her staff, she could buy new things that the school needed, and she's happy, she's excited. That is the power of storytelling. Okay, let's move on. Now, stories, you also probably want to do elevator pitches, and I'm just going to give you a sample of what an elevator pitch is, right? So an elevator pitches look something like this. You say, for, that's your target customer, who, statement of need, D, you mentioned the name of your product, is A, you mentioned the product category, that, you mentioned the key reason, the reason to buy, unlike, you mentioned the primary competitive advantage, then you talk about our product, which is like statement of primary differentiation. Now, this is a formula. I know it looks like weird, but let me give you an example. So I run a digital agency, right, where we build websites and mobile apps for businesses. And if you pitch ePower, it will look something like this. So for businesses who wish to gain visibility and attract more customers online, ePower.ng is a digital agency that connects SMEs to their preferred target audience through websites, games, and apps. Unlike traditional advertising that is hard to target and difficult to measure, ePower harnesses the power of design and digital storytelling to help businesses make the shift from overlooked to overbooked. Now, you need to have like an elevator pitch for your business, for your NGO, for your project, something like a short summary. It's like an executive summary, something you can tell anybody anywhere, and something that certainly has to feature in every single grant proposal. That leads us to number 3, right? So let me just go back for some recap. Number 1, we talked about right solutions. Number 2, we talked about radical pitches. Number 3 is resourceful entrepreneurs. See, if you can't do anything without money, you won't do something with money. I like the fact that Brighton was talking earlier on about, you know, at what point do you raise funding? Something key, that it's at the point where you find product market fit. It's at the point where you know you have something hot, something that can scale, something that is about to catch fire. It's at that point that you raise money. So if you are writing a grant proposal and you say, oh, we need this grant, you know, to scale our product or service, we need the grant to maybe to hit distribution or something. The investors or the people reviewing your grant application, the thing they'll be looking out for is, what have you done without them, right? I mean, it's funny, right? They are looking for people who don't need their help. I know it sounds crazy, right? You're looking for help, but the people who want to help you are looking for people who don't need help. It sounds crazy. Now, if you can't do anything without money, you won't do something with money. So they want to see your traction. These are the questions you should ask yourself. Where am I, right? Our current milestone. What have we done? You need to keep track of your milestone. Keep track. Maybe you got into an accelerator, that's a milestone. You got new customers, that's a milestone. You doubled your revenue, that's a huge milestone. Keep track of those things. In the end, the best reason to need capital is speed. It's not to fix a sales or technology problem, it's speed. You can see all of these companies, these unicorns. You see Slack, Airbnb, Spotify. They were able to raise a huge amount of money because even the investors could see that these guys are on a mission. They are on fire. They have a product that the market needs. And so everybody wants to throw money at them. Three things: speed, impact, profit. Now, what are the things you should be thinking about? You should think about your addressable market, right? Your target audience. How big is your addressable market, right? So I gave an example here, but this is more like a Nigerian example. But let's say the average population of students in private schools in Nigeria is 200, right? And there are 1.4 million students in private secondary schools in Nigeria. It means that you have roughly around 7,392 private schools in Nigeria. That means that if you have a product that is targeting private schools in Nigeria, what is your market? That's 7,392. Now, it doesn't mean you can reach all of them, but at least it gives you an idea of the market size. Gives you an idea, right? Now, these are some of the questions you should also ask yourself. What is the total amount of cash invested to date? You should know. As a business owner, you should know the amount of cash. You should keep records, right? Thanks to Brighton's session, for reminding us. Brighton reminded us about that. What are your current monthly cash expenses? You should know how much you're spending every single month, because you cannot manage what you cannot measure. Also, you should know how much revenue you're generating. I mean, if you don't track revenue, then how do you know whether you're moving forward or moving backwards? Also, think about things like next milestone. What is our next milestone, right? What do we want to achieve next? If you're writing a grant proposal, it is to achieve something, right? So what is that next milestone? Another thing is, how much do you need, right? So talking about budget, for instance, budgeting is one area where a lot of people miss it when they are applying for grants. Don't assume that people who are going to review your grant proposal they don't know what is happening in your country, right? You're in Kenya. So don't assume that, maybe because you're applying for a grant and the funders are in US, don't assume that they don't know. They have Google. They can easily check the price of things, right? So make sure that you put actual pricing. Don't underestimate, don't overestimate your budget. Another thing you should ask is, how long will it take? Every single project should have a time span. And when it comes to grants, they usually have like a limit. Some funders will even tell you that you cannot do more than maybe 6 months or maybe 12 months, right? So follow that. And then, of course, always talk about the impact. Funders want to know that the money they are giving you, the grant you're applying for, that is going to touch a lot of lives. So I'm not saying that you should lie and, with this money, we are going to affect 1,000 lives. The thing is, you need to be realistic, but at the same time, you need to be creative. If you're doing a training program, you should be thinking about designing a train the trainer, so that even after your own training is gone, the impact can continue after you, right? If you're doing a solar training, you should be thinking about, how can we empower the people in the community so that they can even create their own solar panels by themselves, right? So those kind of things that set up a chain reaction, those are the kind of things and projects that win grants, right? I'm going to, let me example. Don't say, I'm going to start my own cosmetic line, the way somebody did. I'll go to China, produce my brand of lipsticks. For instance, you can say, for $10,000, we will launch a beauty school that will train about 2,000 aspiring skincare specialists over the next 3 years, equipping them with skills that will make them skilled beauticians and employers of labor. Sweet, straight to the point, no story. So, as I wrap up, what are grant-giving institutions looking out for? They're looking out for 4 things. They're looking out for the right solutions. Right? They want to back solutions that are solving pressing problems. They're looking out for radical pitches. The kind of, you're selling them a story, you're selling them, a product, a solution that is so exciting, they're jumping up on their feet. They're looking out for resourceful entrepreneurs that can do so much with little money. Those are the kind of people they're looking for. And finally, they're looking for real scalability. They're looking for solutions that can scale, right? That can grow fast. And usually, those kind of solutions have something to do with technology, right? Regardless of the project you're working on, the business you're working on, you need to find a technology angle, find a way, because technology is an enabler. Technology can help you scale whatever it is that you're doing. Find a way to utilize technology. So those are the 4 things that they are looking for. So I want to wrap up by giving you some general tips, right? Because I know some of you will be applying for grants after now. The first one is track grants. Essentially, you cannot take what you cannot track. So Look for websites. I've given you some funds for NGOs, opportunity desk, opportunities for Africans. 2 is engage past winners, right? So the fastest way to win a grant is to go and look for somebody that has won that grant. Just go and look for them, engage, learn from them, sit down at their feet, learn at it. 3, follow the RFP. RFP means request for proposals. Every single grant application, usually funders, they usually put out RFP. And in that RFP, they will state all the things they want. They will state the kind of industries they are funding. They will state the kind of people they are looking for. They will state the amount of money you are likely to get. Follow the RFP. See, don't try.
Hello, I think we lost you. Okay, guys, is it just me or did everyone lose Olebenga?
I've also lost him.
It's the audio.
Benga, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
We can't hear you. I can't hear him also.
I think it's the
Okay.
audio because the video is good.
Yeah, it could be the audio.
Okay.
So, okay.
Okay. Let him
Hello,
fix
can you hear
maybe
me,
and then
everybody?
Yes, he's back.
or you can
Yeah,
just
we can.
leave the session and then join again, just to wrap up.
Oh,
Yeah, it's okay now.
okay. Okay.
Okay, we lost you at that last part.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, all right, okay, all right. So let me just do that very quickly. Okay, so now that you can hear me, for some of you, it might be like a struggle putting together your grant proposals. For some of you, you don't have the time. For some of you, you've been struggling, with winning grant proposals. So if you fall into any of these categories, just go to grandmaster.xyz. You can hire the top 5% of grant writers. It's very affordable. You can hire from anywhere that you are, and we'll match you with someone who is very vast in your area of expertise, to help you win that grant. So visit www.grandmaster.xyz. Check it out. I hope that you found my session very exciting. I hope that you learned 1 or 2 things. Those are my contact details on the screen. I'm happy to share. So don't forget, you can also win grants. The people that have won grants don't have 2 heads. But this few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince and not confuse you that you too can win grants. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Benga. It has been an amazing session. Some of the participants wanted to know how to win grants and funding. So I hope they got what they wanted. So if any one of you has any question for him, you can just post it in the chat. And also, I really hope you'll share your slides so that we can share with the members as well.
Yes.
Also, your contact details so that they can also reach out. But thank you very much. I know you have a meeting after this. I really appreciate
Thank you.
giving us your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, guys. Sorry, this has been a very long session. We are going to our last speaker. He was supposed to speak yesterday, but due to the network issues, he couldn't. So I would like to welcome Brian Yagon. Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. You can let me know if you can see it. Let me know once you can be able to see it.
Yes, we can see it.
All right. And am I visible enough from your end, Nicholas?
Yes, you are.
really young professional for giving me another chance to speak to you guys today. I'm really happy that I've got the chance. I wasn't able to speak to you guys yesterday, but it's a very good opportunity again. Secondly, the name was quite cool. Giving, the most thing. So again, once again, my name is Brian McCall, and I am an engineer by profession. That's what I studied in school. I'm also a software engineer by practice, and the reason I always say that because I am an engineer, most of my work revolves around software. And I also do on the side. Just give me a second. Just want to start my countdown so that I don't take all your time. Second. So Nicholas said I have 20 minutes or less, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. So I also run Brainburst Technologies, which is an IT company that which has a aim of helping businesses to be able to create and expand their digital footprint, and also build products and services that can help businesses to be able to strengthen their internal operations. So at Brainburst Technologies, I lead a team of about 14 who have been working remotely 100% for the past 4 years, and our teams are distributed across in the entire country. We have people working from different towns in Kenya, and within Brainburst, we have been able to develop certain products. One of which is Startup Suite, which is a system that allows or that helps working entrepreneurs to be able to keep their job while growing their business. And what it does is that it helps them to be able to run their business from literally anywhere and use up to just half the time to produce a productivity that is twice what they would produce when they were not when they're not using the system. So Startup Suite has helped Brainburst itself to be able to scale and to grow, and to be able to establish a very, very successful and beautiful remote work from home program that has enabled and empowered our teams to work. So I'll be talking to you guys about business planning, and I would like to diverge a bit, or sort of like digress, and actually not that so much, but I want to be able to give you what you will not be able to find in a book, in an online tutorial, or something that is based on my own experience when running a business, as I was running a business. And I also give you part of my story and how I started and how I think that story can impact your life. So I've been working for 4 years right now, and I started my company, Brainburst Technologies, while I was in campus in second year. As they normally say, that necessity is the mother of invention. I started the business as a very because I was very broke back in Moi University, and there's normally a time in engineering school when you are asked to do an internal attachment, whereby so it's sort of like an industrial engagement, but you do it within the university. That means you have several lessons during the time of your classes, but there are very few lessons. And you can imagine for a campus student who is having like 90% free time, you are eating a lot, you are thinking of many other things, and you are not actually earning anything. You're actually depending on pocket money from. At that time of my life was one of the most and it really changed how I think. Talent. And then I went to the library and just started looking out. I started asking friends if there's something to do in order to get some money. I I don't know, a friend gave me a connection to a job in Ukuda, and my second year in campus. And it still surprised me that my card I use even right now is almost full employment. So that is the company want to put me to the work and so that was a big moment. And I think left. When I came back, I registered a business and I realized then that I could actually bring value to many more people, and I could be able to bring a brand. Yes.
Could you please check your connection? We can't hear you well. Clearly.
All right. Can anyone else hear me well? Because I think it's pretty much really good. I can hear something.
Okay.
I think there is an issue. It's either your laptop is not taking that signal correctly. It's kind of shaky.
Really? Okay.
Phones or something. Yeah.
All right. Is it just my audio or? All right. Let me try to make it better. I'd request that we can also.
Sarah, could you please mute your mic?
So it's okay. I can just mute them. I've just muted Sarah Mondi, so no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just wait until Brian fixes his audio.
Nick?
Yes.
Hello, Nick.
Yes.
Maybe I'll request a friend of mine and a very close guy.
Yes.
I worked with him while I was in Safaricom, Enoch Oyo. Maybe to tell us how far is the. Are you learning something? Is there maybe some juice that we can add on the session? Enoch, if you are there and you're hearing me, maybe you can just give us your feedback and your input. It's long that we met again on this session. Evening, Enoch.
Evening to you all. Thank you, Givinji. That's quite out of the blue. It has been a nice session. Learned a lot. Personally, I've not really conceptualized on what to settle in in terms of starting a startup, but it has really opened up my mind on some of the basics that need to be done and what needs to be put into place to achieve that which you want and how you want to impact society. And also from the first day, I think the speaker who was doing the part about USBs, it really opened up it's a very minor issue, but its impact in society is very much, and it has really got me thinking on so many aspects of life, and also so many on the various issues that we deal with in society and how we can be able to leverage the skills that we have for all those who've gone to school and those who are in school to be able to solve them and maybe impact society positively. And I think I've met a few guys. I think I'll be able to follow up as we go along to be able to put structures into place on some of the things that I'm having concepts about, so that we can all have that a good society, especially in Kenya, to live in. Githinji, I think I'm not part of the IEEE. I got the session from you. We met some quite years back in a work environment, and I'm very thankful for opening up the opportunity and also giving such a platform. I think going forward, I'll be joining in to learn more, and thank you very much. The session is great. I don't have any base to grade you on, but from where I stand and what I've experienced, I give you a 10, and keep it up.
Yeah, thank you very much. But all the credit goes to the IEEE Young Professionals in Kenya section. They are really doing amazing job, not only here in Kenya, but also in the entire globe, courtesy of Charles, Nick Kabingu, who is our moderator for today. We have Dr. Amos Shege Kirongo, and then we have Nashon Miwizi, who unfortunately lost his mom, and we are still in the morning session with him. So if Brian is back, maybe we can proceed. That was just a session to give Brian time to fix stuff. So welcome back, Brian.
Thank you very much. So I'll just go straight into my presentation. And like I said, I want to share with you a four-point exclusive on my experience when I was starting my business, Brainplus Technologies, and the others that came after it. And first of all, you normally ask yourself, what is your main decision when you're what is your main driver when you're making a business decision, when you're making a decision to go with one company as a partner and another company as a partner, when you're making a decision to buy product X or to work with supplier X or supplier Y? What really makes you decide on whether to give your customers feature A or feature B? So one thing that can help you as a business to be able to transform, to create real transformation and make your business agile is using data or insights that you get from information. And will you get information from data that your business collects, or data that is generated by the people that you work with, or data that is generated by or given by your customers as a business? And as you can see, my presentation targets guys who already have something going on, or who have already put up something that they want to grow to scale. And just right about now, I just want to try and understand how many of you are in the meeting. Does any one of you that has a business that is going on? I guess not, but let's now get down and see how now do we make our business, or how now do we make sure that in every single thing that we do in our business, we are trying to achieve the objectives that are proper and something that helps us to grow the business from a single, from a small business and getting it into a medium-sized business. The first thing I would look at is people. May I confirm if Nicholas, you can hear me, or anyone else in the meeting? I'm just not sure if anyone can.
We can hear you.
Thanks a lot. I'll just kill my video to just allow us to get enough bandwidth. So why do I bring in people in a business? Without people, there is no business on earth that can run. Well, some business can work without people, but most business cannot work without people. And people start from the founders of that business. when you are bringing up a business, or when you are trying to grow a business, or when you are trying to build something from scratch, you have to be able to understand the kind of people that you need. You have to be able to identify the talent that you need. You have to be able to identify what things are you bringing people to do, and how exactly do those people's actions translate into you building a product. How does that that role that that new person is coming with, how does it translate to you getting business, to you making profits, to you making impact? You have to understand the kind of people, the kind of skill that you're looking for when you're actually trying to build your business from ground up, or the business from one stage to another. So, like I said, data is we said that a business will make decisions based on data, or based on insights that all the way come from data. Now, this data is generated by people, either the people that you work with, the customers, or any other stakeholders in the business. Now, people generate data when they act on processes. And why do they do that? They do that based on their responsibilities and their roles in the business. For instance, an accountant will enter information in a system, or will give your business information of invoices and payments made. For instance, a CEO maybe would bring in information by giving the effects of presenting in a specific event that targeted your customers. All these are information that get into your organization based on the person who is giving this information and based on their role. And therefore, people become the center of your organization or your startup, because they help to build the plan. They help to build the baseline of your planning, the baseline of the strategy that you have as a company. And therefore, it means that obtaining a lot of clarity early on in the business of what every single person in the business, in the BHR, is supposed to do is very, very important. Some business only have 3 people, but the clarity with which they define the roles of these people is so high that each of them is able to obtain productivity in every single thing that they do. That clarity is very important, because it's the key to getting things done in your business. It's the key to getting things done the right way, and things done in the right time, in the right manner, at every point of a business. Now let's go to a few tips when you're looking for people in your business, and how you can better make use of the people perspective of the business that you're having. Number one thing that you need to work on is to be able to pick the right talent. Talent is skill. Talent is the capability of the person that you want to include in your business. Whether you're bringing in a developer, whether you're bringing in a business development manager, whether you're bringing in someone who wants to help you to craft your idea and get it into the next, or transform it into the next big thing in your country or in your region, you have to be able to harness the right talent to be able to do that. The right mindset is another thing. Like I told you, I started my business in campus, and I work with several people. Sometimes you bring in people that didn't have the bigger picture in mind. Someone who would maybe just see that business as its face value at the moment. Someone who can articulate how that business would be in the next 10 years. I would like to tell you that along the lines of you developing a business, along the lines of you trying to find a for your business, you will not find people who are as passionate as you. You may not find people who are as focused and who are as looking ahead like you are. And therefore, you have to ensure that as you look for the people to help you drive this vision that you have, you have to ensure that you look for the right mindset. Someone who is able to see the end that you see for the business. Someone who can be able to see how beneficial the business can be when the business grows and becomes something big. And lastly is, you need to look for people that become assets and not liabilities to the business. This is something that has happened to me a lot. We have brought in people in the company or in other business that have become liabilities. Every single time a new person comes into a business, you need to identify whether that person is a liability or that person is an asset. And sometimes you don't look for assets. Sometimes you look for people who can grow into becoming assets in the business. Someone can have the right mindset, but may not have the top-notch talent that you're looking for. Therefore, you can see, as a person who is running the business, you can see an opportunity that since this person has the right mindset, there's a possibility of building the right talent out of this person. There's a possibility of letting them become an asset to your business. That is something that has helped me build Brainverse until where it is right now. We did not start all the way with very experienced people. We started people who just left campus and people who are new in the field. But over time, they have been built to become the top talent that you can ever look for, and we are proud of that. Now, all this talent and all these minds and all these assets cannot just be, you can't just walk into a market and start picking people. You can't into a room and then say you had the right talent, you had the right mindset. You have to have a something that assists you to handpick the right people from an enormous group of people that want to work with you. Once people see that you're working on something really great, every single person will want to be part of it. But how do you ensure that the person that you bring in is the right person for that business, is the right person for that role? Then you need to have something to assist you. Like they normally say, any machine, any software is defined and designed to make your work easy. And you can be able to use several tools to be able to allow you to pick the right mindset, the right talent, and the right assets, and allow you to be able to get people, even the first people in your interview panel. I mean, in your interview activity, have to be right people to get there. Like I say, you might want to try a solution like Workshift.world to try and see how you can be able to position that opportunity that you have in a way that is regarded highly, and someone can go through a step-by-step period of getting into your team. And secondly, you have to define and draw clear job descriptions and create a clear organizational structure. And this structure must have expectations that you expect from the people that you work with. If you don't give expectations, you don't expect any results back, because someone will work with no baseline. Someone will work or work with you with nothing to refer upon, with nothing to look down and see or measure themselves whether they're doing the right thing or not. So all these things have to be clear from the very word go. You don't have to be Safaricom to be able to define JDs for your business. You don't have to be a big company for you to define expectations of your staff or expectations of partners or expectations of your co-founders that you work with. You don't have to be. And one last tip I want to give you is that when you work with people, you need to bind them by a single vision that all of them are working towards. The Bible says that where there is no vision, people perish. If there is no vision in your business, your business will perish. It will fall down because there's nothing holding you together as a team. And as our previous speaker talked about, this vision can be formulated in something like your value proposition, in something that that the value proposition that looks like the one that our previous speaker, Mr. Ulbange, gave. So you have to bind people by a vision and make them gel together by a set of core values, a set of beliefs that define how you do business, a set of beliefs that define your relationship with your clients, a set of beliefs that define your relationship with each and every one of you in that team. These are the things that help the team gel together and work towards a great future for your business. The second point is about a process. Again, certain things happen every other time when you want to do something. Let's say, for instance, a person sends a payment for you and you need to send a simple thank you note to this person. That is something that you do every single time you receive a payment. Let's say that you want to be able to when you begin a project, you want to have a discussion with your client and be able to explain to them what they need and what you would need from them. That is part of a process. Processes help you to achieve agility in execution of every single activity in your business. It helps you to understand a procedural way of achieving every single task in your business, and they help you to reduce clutter, and they also help you to establish a very, very strong baseline of being able to act on anything. If you have processes in your company that are straightforward, you will take very minimal time to onboard a new person in the business. When you get someone who is doing a new thing, they'll be able to pick up so fast and be able to reduce the time to full production. Because when a company is hiring a new person or getting a new person in the company, there's normally a period of time when this person spends to just learn how the company works, to just learn how you use how the systems you use, and to learn every single aspect of the business. You can reduce this to half the time just by setting up processes that help your staff or that help your people to attain certain objectives or certain tasks. Now let's look at some tips some tips and tools in building the right process for your team. How do you build process in your team? It starts by segmenting your business units. And you don't have to, like I said, you don't have to be a big company to be able to segment and build a structure for your business early on. You just need to start this early and to enable you to grow with it and to build a culture around it. Let's say that you are a business that does or like grows tomatoes in a greenhouse, and you sell them to hotels, and some of them you take them to vendors or people who sell them in kibandas and all that. You will know that you have the section of your business that does the growing only. Then another section does the marketing to help people understand and know your business. Another section maybe maintains your relationship with the vendors that you sell this to. Another section just goes out to look for business in hotels. Now, every single business unit in your system, in your organization, has its functions. These functions can now be outlined in form of activities. What does the selling person do? What does the person who's growing do? Does he do pruning? Does he do maybe purchase of pesticides? Every single thing has to be outlined. You can outline the 3 top activities done by every business unit and write down a step-by-step guide to perform those activities, such that if any single person leaves the business and another person comes in, they don't have to undergo a full training for them to be able to fully understand what you do. And therefore, you can take advantage of that and be able to swing into business immediately a new person comes in. Now, after establishing a step-by-step guide, you need to put this information in a situation that every person in the business is able to see and adopt easily. They can be able to find and be able to implement them. The second tip is you need to be able to include each step as a task in your day-to-day activities. When you establish a step-by-step guide of doing something, you need to adopt them. You need to execute and be able to embed those tasks or those steps as a task in your project path, or when you're actually doing something for a client, or when you're going about your day-to-day activities of the business. And another tip is that you want to, it's not just about doing. You can do something, but if you do not monitor how it is working, if you do not try to find out the bottlenecks that prevent you from achieving those goals or from making these steps to be smooth, then you will end up doing things that will in turn hurt your business instead of helping your business achieve its objectives. So you need to monitor how long does it take us to do this task? How long does it, or what is like the completion rate of this task? If it is started, do we finish them? And if we don't, why? What is causing us not to make these things get done? You need to understand all those factors and see how to address them at every given stage. And how now do you do all these things? These are all these big, many things to keep tabs with. You need help. You need help of a system, of something that can help you manage every single thing that you want to manage, and to be able to pinpoint those bottlenecks and to be able to resolve them when you need to. You could use a tool. There are many project management tools out there. You can use products like Trello. You can use products like Todoist to manage the tasks and projects of your business. I would also ask you to check on something like Startup Suite, which gives you a very intuitive project management suite that can enable you to set up your departments or business units and set them up with people and be able to align your business activities in a very simple, in a good way, and an easy way to follow up through. So those are my tips, that you need to get help from a system that will simplify the process of segmenting your business, the process of setting up activities, and the process of aligning or outlining step-by-step means of doing every single project or activity in your business. Now, let's look at a more broad thinking about making work easy in the business. Your business contains, part of your business or your core business is to build a product. Let's go back to the example of a person who is selling groceries or tomatoes, basically from a greenhouse, and then selling it to vendors or selling it to hotels. The thing that brings you money is when you sell a tomato or a crate of tomatoes to a hotel, and it gives you back the money. Is your core business. Therefore, there are certain things that help to run getting to your suppliers early enough. The people who give you seeds, that doesn't bring money. What brings money is a tomato can to a hotel. That is the only thing that gives you money. You have to make sure that you automate the other activities around the core business that you have, so that you are avoiding operating in a way that will drown your business in things that that are not able to grow or sort of support your core business. There are certain mundane tasks and activities in your business that you can a single or just using a single system. And let me give an example. Just doing a payment integration on for your business will allow you to be able to send a simple thank you note. People pay you via means like M-Pesa, you are able to automatically send a thank you note. It's very simple, a very simple message. Thank you for doing business with us today. Thank you for spending this much money on us today. Thank you for being part of our business. Thank you for being part of our growth initiative. All those things are things that can actually be done using a system that can help you align the business to the objectives, and also give you enough time to work on the core business that gives your business money. Now let's look at a few tips that we can be able to systems to enable us to streamline the business processes. And one thing I want to mention, that when you use a system to be able to allow to streamline your business, the number one thing you're doing is you're automatically setting up processes in your business. Activities that can help you achieve the goals of the organization. Another thing it helps you to do is it centralizes the operations of the business. When you find that a customer, a business has got or does has like 3 main products, and it's singular, all these have to be recorded somewhere, and they're all can be recorded and implemented when they are stored somewhere that every single person in your business can be able to access and can be able to follow through. So the first thing the systems help you to do is they centralize every operation, and they streamline the processes that occur in the business. And when that happens, the moment you centralize operation and you are able to streamline the process in your business, outcome is being able to work at greater productivity and greater agility, and you can also have faster response to your customers, faster response to every single activity, to crisis that take place in your business, to things like expediting if it's activities that can expedite activities in the business. Only when you have achieved operation-wise, you have centralized everything or most things, and you have streamlined every single operation or process in your business. Another thing you want to look at is how does business to save more time or to harness more time or for your staff or for the people that you work with or for your partners, for your owner. You can be able to harness more time. I'll give you an example. An average person away from CBD and works at least 2 hours on the road every single logic. Ask business takes their day travel to your office. What is the value of 2 hours in your business per day? Every single day you're losing 50 hours, man hours in business. What is the value of that 50 man in business? And with that money, you would be able to, with the value you get, just 1 to 1.5 that works. If your business can support, you can also try and compare the value that comes to you by people working in distributed teams rather than working in consolidated teams in an office setup. And therefore, when you find out that it will be better for your business to work in distributed teams, then you can start asking yourself, what do I need to be able to effectively and efficiently work in distributed teams and enable or empower my business to be able to work with remote, maybe work from home teams? Before Corona, this wasn't very popular, but now many businesses are trying to find out ways in which they can be able to adopt a remote work from home environment for their staff. And I'm happy that this is something that we as Bremer started doing a long time ago, and we've learned a lot of lessons along the way, and we've been able to achieve and learn new ways of doing things that have enabled us to become productive and establish a system that really works. And that is why we have adopted a product like Startup, so that is built within our team, or that initially was built to help us internally to be able to manage the business, and has grown to become a standalone product that can be offered to any other business out there. Another very important tip is that you need to be able to collect relevant business data. You need to be able to generate insights from them and monitor the key performance indicators of the business. When you have a system, it will help you do and make those things seen. For example, if your monthly recurring revenue is a very important aspect for you, a system can be able to help you to display that and display it and help you measure how you're doing this month, last year, and be able to give you a hint and some insights on how you can be able to improve that and how you can be able to manage that over time. Let's go to the last thing that I want to give you a tip on, is presence. Where do you make the most noise about your product or about the business? Where can people find you? Do they find you in your shop? Do they find you on social media? Do they find you on your website? How are you going to go to your customers? In the brick and mortar setup, customers come to your shop, but now customers are on their phones. Customers are online. Customers are always, having the conversations on WhatsApp. How do they find you, or how do you go to your customers? That is what defines your presence as a business. You have to understand all the aspects of helping your customers find you, or you going to your customers. How do you even position every single product that you're selling? How do you make sure that when you build a new product, your customers are able to understand it, they're able to realize there's something new, to know that you have something that you're selling? Now let's go to a few tips that can help you to be able to position yourself or make yourself more presentable or go exactly to where your users or customers will be. The first thing is that you need to, we all know that for a business that wants to be able to get some traction and wants to get some viewership, you need to adopt social media as a way of exposing your brand to different people. But it's not just about being on social media. It's about objective being on social media. You don't just start a Facebook page if you know that you'll just be on that Facebook page and wait for, manna from heaven and wait for business. You need to be on a social platform with a purpose and a very clear objective. For instance, the way you post on Facebook or a Facebook page is not exactly the same way you post on Instagram. And that is very different from how you post on Twitter. And therefore, that means your business must develop objectives and purposes around every social media platform, because each one of them has a different set of audience. Each of them has a different set of people that have different objectives, that have different amounts of time. You have to understand, according to how Facebook is, you also have to understand what times of the day do you think your customers are always, maybe let's say on Facebook. What time of the day are your customers spending on Twitter? And what time of the day are they their Instagram profiles? So that when you make a post on Facebook, when you make a post on Instagram, it doesn't fall on deaf ears. It doesn't come at the wrong time, because you might post in the morning, yet most of your customers or your target market come to Instagram at noon when they're tired and they're just finding something to relieve them from the hard work they're doing. So you might want to be able to be very objective and very purposeful. For example, you say, the way Facebook allows you to post a long post or a long text of information, I might want to use Facebook to educate my customers. Instagram allows you to make photos. I might want to use Instagram only to allow customers to have a feel of what it feels, to have a feel of my product, to see what my product can do, to see how we are serving our customers, to see some testimonials in form of videos of people who have actually got services or product from us. Maybe you will say that I want to use Twitter simply to join conversations that are attached around our business model or that touch around our core business, so that people can be able to know and feel you in the market. So you have to define a purpose for each social media profile or platform that you join, and don't just join for the being there. You also have to measure your impact. When you join up, you need to measure and always review you're getting from that point. How many Facebook likes did you get this month? And why do you think they came to you? Did you organize an event? Did you take part in some educational content? Did you join a conversation on Twitter for you to get 3 more followers this month? Did you maybe, for instance, share an impactful video on Instagram for you to get 4 more business opportunities from Instagram? You have to measure that impact. You have to plan on activities to do. You have to do them and implement them. You have to check the impact of those activities, and you need to realize or to build up actions that you can take in order to improve or to align the outcomes for your business in a better way. And therefore, you have to continuously do a PDCA, plan, do, check, and act cycle in every single platform that you get into. Facebook has a very good platform of helping you to manage both your Facebook page and your Instagram profile in one place. You can check out business.facebook.com because it could help you to be able to align and give you insights that can help you undertake very good analytics and help you align the business objective and see how you use the 2 platforms to be able to get an edge over your business. Now, at this point, I want to thank you for listening in. I hope I helped you to get an understanding of how you can, you can craft a good positioning for your business, especially when you're starting or when you're growing your business to become a mid-size or the next, the next big product in the market. I would want to thank you very much for listening in, and if you have any questions, I can take them now.
Thank you very much, Yagon, for this wonderful session. Very informative, and I apologize to the participant. We've deviated from our time kidogo, but we can all agree that it was worth it. It was a very intense session, 3 speakers, but it was all worthwhile. So if you have any questions, you can just unmute your mic or you can post it in the chats. As we continue, I want us to do our usual thing. Okay, post your questions in the chat, and also go to the menti.com and write down your expectations for tomorrow's session. This is a very quick session. It's just 1 minute. Menti.com, code is 614249. Menti.com, 614249. So write down your expectation, a word, a sentence, anything, just 1 or 2 words, so that we can end this session. As we do that, thank you so much, Brian. I hope you'll share the slide and as well as your contact information so that the participants can reach out to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I already shared that, and it will be shared with the participants as well. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you. So menti.com, 614249. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Yes, we have some feedback. Intriguing, informative. This is good. Just a few more so that we can end the session. Okay, I think we can just work with this. Thank you everyone for participating. We'll have closing remarks. We were supposed to have a guest speaker to say a few words, but we'll just have to go with one of the members. So, Chalto, closing remarks. Or Kipinji, I see you've unmuted your mic.
To ask a lady to be specific, we will be hearing from Chalto tomorrow. Maybe we can have another lady today. I don't know if Samia is around. Samia, are you there?
And I can also see there's a
I can see you. Okay, perfect. As Brian says that, can you confirm that you can hear us? Okay, if Samia is not there, we can go to Paris. Paris, are you there? Paris, can you? Yes. Okay, then if Paris is not there, we can do Sarah Amondi. Sarah Amondi can do a closing remark for us as we close the session today. Sarah Amondi, I hope you can hear us.
All right, so I will attempt to answer the question that Ron has. Okay. Then Sarah can get the closing remark. All right, thank you, Sarah. So thank you, Ron, for the question. And you say that how should upcoming or aspiring startups organize their operations, process, or accountability since they don't have a previous track record? What I might say is that it's very important to build up a culture for your business early on. And that's why I say that you don't have to be a big company for you to be able to do some of these things. Information and having accountability and process is one of the things that will help you build or help your business to scale faster. You can start small, and since, for example, you can start if you are just alone or like two of you in the business, you just need to define every activity that takes place in your business or everything that your business does, so that you're able to see what activities take place, and then with those activities, you can align the step-by-step guide on what, like a step-by-step guide on what exactly it entails to do. And you don't have to even use a system at the beginning. You can start by just aligning all these things in an Excel sheet or in a Word document. And it can help you to be able to establish a clear operational process that can help you do your business. And the objective is just to allow you to focus on your core business and have the other process not opening up your mind all the time. So you don't have to be a big company, you don't have to start with a system. You can start small and align and fully understand your operations as you grow with them.
Thank you, Brian. I hope that answers your question, Ron. Okay, so we can just go straight to Sarah. You can give our closing remarks.
Okay, I want to thank. Are you getting me?
Yes, we are.
Are you getting me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. I'm so grateful for today's session and truly I've learned much. I hope the other participants have also learned much. And what I've learned, like it's a matter of like having the mindset that you can do it, and they've given us the skills, like what you should have for someone to start like the business. You start from somewhere. Yeah, I'm so happy, and I think the others have also learned something. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, Brian and Sarah. So I think you can leave at your own pleasure. It's been wonderful having you guys. Thank you again. And good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.